I think you'll possibly be surprised to hear that this play appears in my top 10 of both the most licensed performances and the top selling. It's number 7 as the most performed, just below I Love You Mum, which this month has overtaken it, on 269 licensed performances. And it's my 8th top selling, having sold just over 3,500 plays. It's one I hear little about recently, and maybe it's one of the things I chose to include in it that has led it to not be used quite so much. So, The Gate Escape. It was another of those plays. It's one I've never ever directed. It's a play that was commissioned by a guy who I'd met called Brendon Burns. Brendon, I believe now, I'm trying to get in touch with him at the moment, but I believe he's now a senior lecturer at LIPA, the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts. But back in the day, this would have been the early 2000s, I had met him just before this as a fight director, where he directed a wonderful mop fight with wet mops in the Absurd Christmas Musical. He was also a very active theatre and education director, and he was about to leave the Haymarket Theatre in Basingstoke, so couldn't take on the writing credits which he'd normally do, and he offered me a commission to write The Gate Escape. So I suddenly had this and Arson About happening at the same time. So a wonderful experience for me. And meanwhile, I was doing the Dan Nolan play. And it was about truancy. And I have to say, with my reaction when he said, would you like to write a play about truancy, was, yeah, I'd like to earn the money, but truancy, not sure about. So I had to include something that would entice me to want to do it. And the thing I used was Big Brother. I was a big Brother fan at the time, and still am, but it's stopped now. But then it was huge. So I introduced a surreal Big Brother figure who'd cause them big bother, who would judge their truancy. And it kind of put the whole play into a context of Big Brother. And I have to say, I absolutely love doing it. And between Brendon and I, we came up with a really interesting structure to do it. And what I did was to interview some students who were, we call them reformed truants, from a school in Basingstoke, where an ex-student, one of my people who was in Hard to Swallow, was now a drama teacher. And he put us in contact with some people who were ex-truants, and these are the interview sheets. So I have lots of material of oral testimony from them, so a bit of verbatim. And then Brendon said, let's get our 2 youth theatres together and we'll work on some scenes. So, workshop 2, generating dialogue scenes. Act out a scene where a mother-daughter and a mum talks to a 13-year-old Year 8 daughter, re her new relationship with a 16-year-old boy. 2. Then mum discovers rumour that he is a known shoplifter. Perhaps he was caught in a shop where she works. Second conversation with the girl, perhaps emerging somehow out of first. A different scene. Parents row. Step-parent arrives on the scene, leads to girl running away to friends. That scene, I can tell you, appeared in the scene. It's the Corrie and her mum scene, where the dad comes in, and we used Two Touch for that. It's a wonderful scene. It's used on my WHEELLERPLAYS Definitive Collection, one of my favourite ever scenes, because I use it on workshops a huge amount. Well worth checking out. So it was a mixture of me going home writing, our 2 youth theatres working on it. Chalky was name-checked from Alex Chalk, who was in my youth theatre group and had done so well. Do you remember he got an acting award for Dan Nolan? And then the Haymarket Theatre took it out on tour. And we had a proper, well, Brendon had a proper set designer. So Amy Mabaya, Mabaya, designed a thrust staging setup with fences, Harris fencing, giving the idea of locked in or locked out. And then in the second tour, because it went on tour with Solent People's Theatre after that, they did something quite amazing. They had an audience response system. Now, this was in 2004, I think. Just amazing. So the audience were able to respond, and they'd get all the information from the audience on a press of a button about what was happening in the scene, and they put it up in bar chart graphs. Wonderfully forward for its time. And I said at the time, this is dragging Wheeler-Plays kicking and screaming into the 21st century. I wonder whether it's the Big Brother thing that puts schools off using it, or whether it's the reliance on technology, which is still not very often used. I saw it in a play called The Quiz more recently. But it's a lovely little play, and I'm very, very proud of it and pleased with it, and great that it sits in my top 10s. And they produced, whoa, I mean, this is super professional, a work pack of stuff for schools and after stuff. So really, really wonderful stuff. And finally, the review had some great reviews. Lively. This is from the National Drama magazine. Lively dramatic style, innovative structure with dynamic and contemporary dialogue. It's written in a way to guarantee the audience will feel fully involved and enthralled by the main characters. It is certain to fire the imagination of the next generation. And it also raised the discussion about truancy. Great. Thank you, Brendon, for the opportunity and a commission in the early 2000s. It'd be lovely to hear from you.